Good, appropriate time of the day, everyone. Just had some difficulty with my robot. It didn't want to get started, but now we're all good. Okay, today we're going to be diving into something a little bit different in that I'm not going to be doing a lecture because I don't have one prepared. I'm not going to be talking specifically about a subject. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put on some music and actually do what I intended to do to begin with, and that's start some research. The music I'm playing seems to be from some Ron Gellinas put together royalty-free piano and guitar chill beats. Available for royalty-free streaming. Cool. One thing I didn't consider is where the sound is coming from. Let's try here. Yeah, that seems to work. Interesting. Just a little bit of messing around with audio inputs because I had no control over the volume when piping through my mic output, which is what I usually do. But plugging directly into the speakers, I do have some control. Cool. Okay, what am I looking into today? Let's head over to a browser. Firefox, yes. And there's this tool, Kasm Workspaces, that I just stumbled across the other day that I want to look into. I guess primarily I want to look at the open source images and then maybe the Ansible deployments, maybe the Terraform deployments. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know about this Kasm Workspaces software, it seems to be... I might actually bring up my documentation tool. I'll just quickly save this. Okay, so just a quick rundown of why we're interested in this. If you have a computer. On that computer, you run an operating system. Now, you can actually do it so you have multiple operating systems and choose which one you want to use at boot time. This is called... It's typically called dual booting, though I don't think there's anything stopping you having 3 different operating systems. And you might want this, for example, if you work in security, you might want Windows because you're forced to. You may then want a daily driver Linux. I use Debian personally, but there are people who like Ubuntu or whatever. And then you may want a more security-focused operating system. And this is like the earliest method of running multiple operating systems on one personal computer at least. I know there are other things that you could perhaps do before this, like network boots, but this is like the day-to-day everyday user can do. The problem with this is then you have to restart the computer every time you want a different operating system, and that becomes annoying. Then came something called virtualization, which is actually pretty cool. It basically let you run a virtualization platform on your operating system. And then you could run whatever. That very nearly worked. And then under this virtualization platform, you could run basically whatever operating system you wanted. Now, this is actually good, but it's a bit slow, especially if you're trying to boot into Windows. So recently I was browsing the internet and discovered this as a potential option. And it's a workspace image, and it actually works on this thing called Docker, which is kind of like a... I'm not sure if it's defined as a full virtualization platform. Let's actually quickly look into that. They're defined as these containers, and they use, yeah. This is from Wikipedia. We like Wikipedia. It may not always be the most accurate, but it usually has good summaries. Operating system level virtualization called containers. The thing about these is... Stovas, you're asking, what is this? Hi. I'm currently doing my PhD research, and the whole point of this channel is for me to record it, specifically because ChatGPT and AI is a thing, so I figured I would make a, let's say, a collection of my research to prove I've actually done it, instead of just ask ChatGPT to do it for me. And right now I'm looking into a tool which I found while thinking about the different operating systems I like to use. But yeah, as I say in the explanation, questions are welcome. Feel free to ask them. I'm just looking into this because it was kind of interesting to me. So yeah, Docker is it's like a virtualization level which uses containers. Now the thing about Docker containers is they've typically been application focused, and what that means is you spin up a Docker container because you want to run an application in a specific environment with a specific programming language. But what this Kasm system seems to do is spin up Docker containers which are actually running an operating system. They're running a desktop operating system, which they then serve to you through their VNC system. And honestly, I can't think of a better way to try this than just to grab one. Let's grab a... So many choices. Debian desktop I tend to like, but I'm usually running Debian, so there's no real need to try into that one. RetroArch is the one that they've included. That's like a emulation platform, so it's not something I expected to see here. Steam, Sublime Text, that pleases me. Telegram terminal. Okay, let's have a look at one. I remember reading that there was a forensic open source intelligence one. So if we open the Docker file, this just tells you where you're pulling it from. So base tag develop core image is Ubuntu Jammy from Kasm Web, so they have their own images. This is an image repository, this definition here, and then after the slash is the image. Cool. And then yeah, it runs this Kasm VNC, which VNC has been a way to remotely connect to a desktop. This one seems to run over like the web, so you can connect to it through a browser. So I'm actually just gonna clone this and we can see what's what. Switching over briefly to my terminal. Before anyone panics about seeing an IP address there, you shouldn't. This is a private IP address inside my local network. Nothing dangerous about that. I am quite confused by the fact it's not allowing SSH. There we go. Cool. Actually, we can just clone it. You wouldn't expect cloning or using the copy-paste tool to be so difficult. Currently, I'm using Windows. I haven't actually considered setting up my streaming setup on Linux yet. And I guess the reason for that is this computer has a graphics card in and is needed to run my avatar, but I could actually just work around that. I think this avatar software actually has a streaming mode where it would stream to an external system. Okay, now we have all the Docker files. Let's see if I remember how to use a Docker file. Is it just Docker? I think it's like Docker file up or Docker compose. It will actually probably tell me in the documentation for this. So here we go. Let's look. Docker build. Wondering why, because this seems to just be pulling whoops, it's not what I intended to do. I guess this is tagging the image, so it's building it locally and then with the file. Okay, let's do it. What's the worst that can happen? The answer to that question is usually bad. Which one did I want to use? wanted to try the OSINT one. What's that, spider foot? Or... under F, forensic OSINT. Yeah, I guess we're now pulling the various layers. It's built on Ubuntu Jammy, I guess. 1.9 gigabytes from this. While that installs, I'm going to switch back to my browser and have a look through some of the documentation. Seems there's some more progress being made. A lot of scripts being run, presumably to install the VNC and all the software. VNC has been a remote connection standard for some time. Actually not sure what it stands for. Let's have a look. Yeah, VNC Viewer by Real VNC was probably my first experience with it. Virtual network computing is a graphical desktop. Well, let's switch back to the browser so you can check this out. Also, does Wikipedia not have a dark mode? Because that seems like an oversight. Luckily, Firefox has Reader View, which can save our eye holes. Virtual network computing, graphical desktop sharing system. Transmits the keyboard and mouse. Yep, sounds about right. British invention, apparently. Real VNC, so I guess it was the first. Interestingly, quite a lot, because there's kind of a common call for being able to remotely access PCs, a lot of people install VNC and then they don't change like the default port and they don't change the default password. So for a good long time it was a relatively decent way of accessing a system. Oh, we're back on Docker now. This is entertaining. So it required a password exceeding 8 characters in length because the encryption key was weak, and then has a limit of 8 characters on some versions of ENC. So that was actually a thing I think that happened in Windows NT, which was they had this weird password hashing system where they actually split the password into 2 smaller passwords, and I might have to see if I can look that up because it was magnificently weird. Yeah, so the LAN manager password concatenated to 14 bytes and split in half. So the halves can be worked on individually. And if the password was originally 7 characters or less, the second half was always this particular hex value. Also, since the password is converted to uppercase before one-way encrypting it, it doesn't even count lowercase characters, so loft crack was a... it was an interesting time. I like to think things have improved since then. Let's pop back to my terminal and see if we can get this running. Okay, so Docker image is downloaded. Let's see if we can run it. Something weird is happening with my network. That's always fun. Yeah, it's internal, so we can just keep this for giggles. Interesting. Using something about Flask. Curious. Now if we go to our browser, we should be able to access it at the IP. Let's have a look. Reset while the page loading. Ah, yeah, if we flick back, we can see non-SSL connection disallowed. So let's go and rectify that by inserting an S. Potential safety risk ahead. Well, it wouldn't be any fun if that wasn't. Self-signed certificate is kind of expected in this environment. Hey, look. It advertises again. Luckily I've set it up so I can ban them now. This is a good question. Kasm user. Cool. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. So we have a based on Ubuntu virtual machine here with a forensics OSINT, which is open source intelligence plugin. This is probably something I shouldn't be showing because it's like it's only called open source intelligence when security professionals do it, and when anyone else does it, it's called doxing, and it's not a particularly good place to be going. So that's cool. That worked. I've closed the Docker image. Actually, have I closed the Docker image? Because I remember Docker images were particularly... Oh, I've got this Azure Cast one, which I should probably kill. I was experimenting with that before. Cool, no containers up. So actually just going to have a look through this list again, see if there's any other... One I actually want to look into is this Kali rolling desktop, because Kali is... Let's hop back to my web browser. Kali Linux is complicated. So Kali Linux is a penetration testing distribution. It's focused on security. A lot of people, I don't know that a lot of people, some people who are maybe a bit new to security try to install it and use it as a daily device, and it's not recommended for a couple of reasons. So having some way to spin up Kali locally while not compromising your system is kind of helpful. So I'm just gonna hop back to my terminal and see if I can build the Kali system. I think Kali is based on Debian. Like, I'll be honest, like Kali Linux was, it used to be called Backtrack. It's what I got started with when I was working with security. These days I kind of prefer Parrot. There's this security operating system called Parrot, but oh, I can't scroll up now. I'm just gonna quickly hop to browser. I'm guessing they don't have Parrot because people usually make a decision in Parrot OS 6 desktop. I think that might be the desktop version. I wonder if it is the security edition. Let's have a look. Yeah, I'm worried that it might be this, like the general purpose home edition, rather than the cybersecurity focused edition. Parrot OS 6 doesn't specify. I also just realized I'm downloading these Docker images, and because they have desktop installations. Sorry, I wasn't expecting any saxophone from this song, and now I'm kind of into it. So yeah, we don't have any. We actually only have 100 gigabyte drive on this system I'm using, so maybe need to be a bit more careful about these things I'm downloading, because they are several gigabytes each. Okay. I'm wondering if I can see what this core Parrot OS 6, because it doesn't specifically mention desktop. And I think the assumption would be that if it's Parrot OS, it's going to be the security installation. But let's find out. Of course, I can only find out after Kali has installed, so. Looking at this, it actually seems like a kind of cool tool, because I have this. I'm working on this home server. I call it a home server. It's literally just a laptop I've repurposed to run all the time and run the things I need it to. And I'm looking in this, it's like it has Ansible, so you could set it up in such a way that you have a specified dedicated server for running these, which is why I kind of like it. Just switching back to the terminal for a second, you can see it's installing a pile of packages, so that might take a moment, and I'm just going to download another one. So it's going to be fun. Ansible's kind of cool. It's like a infrastructure as code system. So if you think about administering a server, it's kind of easy. You log into that server, you do what you need, but if you have 10 servers, then you're repeating those 10 commands. It becomes a little less scalable. Ansible runs on Python, which is very easy to install just about everywhere. And you just define your infrastructure and the commands you want to run on it. It's really good if you have to operate on multiple machines. It's actually a tool worth using. I recommend anyone who's operating on more than one machine, give it a try. You might enjoy it. Honestly, just for one machine, it's kind of cool too, because you can automate a lot of your installation process. So you can automate your user creation, you can automate SSH access and keys. It's something that should definitely be used a bit more than it is. I'm not going to give a tutorial on it though, because, well, there are more important tutorials on the internet for it, I would think. Everything's still running over on the installation, so really only one thing for it. What? Since when has this needed a login? I don't like this. This displeases me. I wonder if it needed a login because of how easy it is to cheat. Okay, if I pop this window out, yeah, that works. Okay, while that's installing, let's try solving a puzzle. One thing. Oh, am I getting hints? Woot, I have reached wood level 2. That's fascinating. Black to move, there's a way to end this with a checkmate. Now, I'm not actually that good at chess. I kind of like it. But it doesn't mean I'm particularly good at it. Oh, I'm looking at white. Black to move can end this in checkmate. Then presumably it's this. White to move, finish off with a checkmate. Again, I guess we can put the rook because the bishop's covering it. I've hit my daily limit. Well. Okay, let's play online. Okay, let's see how quickly I lose. That's interesting. Always play aggressively and lose immediately. That's my goal. I should probably also think less about the moves as I put a 1-minute timer. My brain was not designed to move that fast. Hmm. 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 Still installing over here, so wonder how long this is going to take. Let's see if I'm any better at 3 minutes. Pro tip, I'm not. Wait, I'm fighting against someone in the Crystal division? That's interesting. Okay. Oh, hey, my installation finished. So I guess after this one, I'm hopping back over. Just thinking hard about this one. Well, that was nail biting. Okay, let's get back to our terminal. So we should have just created a Kali roaming image, and now I want to try and build Parrot, so... What's going on with my network? Why I'm getting such lag? The only thing that should be different currently is... Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna try and start up the Kali image, even though I want to download Docker. I want to download Parrot. I should figure out how to paste. There we go. This is the run command. Yeah, we do want the run command. Yeah. I feel like people saying custom stream stuff is just typically a scam, so we're looking pretty good. 2 scammers, 1 stream. I like it. This is interesting that they have this upload server running on Flask, which is not a production server. But hey, let's give it a try. Back up to the browser. Accept the risk and continue. You shouldn't do this normally. This. Okay, we can see it's giving a 401 error. If we go back to the terminal, failed password for the user. The problem is it's on the same URL as before, so it's trying to log in with the previous password we set, and there are lots of bad ways we can get around this. The easiest workaround is just to change the password to what we had before. Okay, this is pretty cool. Actually wondering whether or not this would stand up to any actual tasks. How much RAM are we looking at? Okay, so it's actually trying to use up all of the memory available. So it's, I think, technically not that bad. Okay, I was actually expecting to have to wrestle with this quite a lot more. These just... honestly, they seem to work out of the box, and that's kind of cool. Yeah, I, at this point, don't really know what I'm going to continue with this. Because, well, machine learning. Let's take a look at that as well. Because yeah, this works like out of the box, and it's kind of rare that that happens. Oh, parrot. Let's build a parrot. Just switching back to my terminal. And then we can build. Because I'm curious if the parrot version here is desktop or not desktop. But while we're downloading that, let's take a look at this machine learning platform. This is an example to using DevOps to provide a secure working environment for machine learning. Interesting. Okay, what is the Kasm platform? I see there various images and they work. But what's the platform itself? Is that like the centralized repository? Yeah, so I guess Secure Workspaces Anywhere virtual desktop platform. Okay, but okay, so they have a community edition, which I guess that's what they were talking about over here in the machine learning. One of these is the machine learning. Well, it's probably after all of these. Okay, well, we are aware that it said 5 concurrent users was allowed. So what's the advantage of me installing a server instead of just running it? I mean, yeah, this is cool, but so far it's... So audio uploads, downloads, and microphone pass-through are only available with the Kasm platform. So I'm guessing if you don't need those, then you can just run the images as they are. I'm going to skip this song because I actually don't want things with lyrics. I'm actually going to switch away from this playlist to a different one. I actually think this is kind of cool from a perspective of someone who has to travel on occasion, and I feel like it would be useful to have something like this for when how storage is handled. Let's open something like Sublime, which needs to be able to store data. Is there like a mount here somewhere? Okay, so there are some install scripts up here. This is just a bash script. That are ephemeral in nature. Okay, this just seems the same as Docker if non-ephemeral storage, if I'm remembering correctly. So you have volumes. Automate the process of mounting a host directory into the workspace as the user's home directory. Analogous to roaming profiles found in other platforms. Volume mappings. Let's look at how those work. Okay, but these are all about the platform, so I'm guessing we could just, for the storage, if we're running them directly through Docker, we can just add standard Docker volume mappings. Let's have a look. Yeah, so you've got the mount. Which one seems like a better option in this use case? bind mounts. Okay, so bind mounts seem to be is that what they were called here? But we're seeing bind, so I'm guessing it's using the same mechanic. Yes, this is what we want. So if you bind mount file or directory into a directory in the container in which files already exist. Okay. But then we just need to put it into a file that doesn't exist. And we have lyrics. I'm going to have to curate these lists a bit more. Let's try this one. In case you're curious how the installation is going, the answer is slowly. Also, I've added 15 gigabytes to the drive since I started, and I was already at 50 out of 100, so it's maybe something I need to look into. It's actually weird though, because I do actually have a 2 terabyte hard drive connected to it, but the main disk has only 100 gigabytes. I guess it's fine. Okay, so if we grab our command from somewhere over here. And this will be our run command. But I hop over to my text editor, which is a different text editor. That's interesting. Is it this one? It is not. It's this one. Okay, so this is our typical run command. We then probably mount type bind source. What should we call it? And destination. Hopefully this will then work, that it will persist the directory that doesn't yet exist on my server into a home folder. I think that was the user. We could probably check. Underscore. Not. So I'm assuming that's the We could actually just put it... No, let's keep it in the home folder for the sake of it. Okay, so this should be our... We also need to change this so that it's the same and we don't run into that problem we had before. So this will be our command. If we look at the terminal, we can see we're still installing. Okay, so while we wait for that to install, let's get back into it. Interesting. That move confused me. And I'm confused about whether it was meant to confuse me. I do worry a little bit about playing chess online, mostly because I think people might get excited that I'm sat here playing chess and think I'm going to be playing chess, but I'm literally just doing this because the installation is going, and I think this is slightly more interesting than watching an installation bar. I feel like he maybe made a blunder at the start and is now being a bit more cautious. Maybe I should have seen that coming. I'm not sure why I didn't just take the knight, but I'm okay with that. To trap my queen, I guess. Okay. I'll sacrifice a queen for a queen. I won. And I played the French defense. I guess that's the most important thing. One great, two best, three excellent. I guess I'll accept that. Thanks, random guy. That was fun. Let's check our installation. I guess I'm still considering the advantages of installing the server compared to just running the workplace images. Like, the persistent storage is something. Like, uploads, downloads. I think having persistent storage should allow for that to be okay. Audio, I don't really think I need audio in my virtual platforms. Microphone pass-through. Yeah, I don't need that. Okay, let's... Yeah, for another while it's starting. That's... I don't always understand these moves, but I guess that's why he's in the bronze division and I'm in the wood one. Okay, that amused me for some reason. That was silly. That's a cool move. I like that. I like that. I mean, I don't like that, but I guess I kind of like that. Hey, my construct finished, so Oh, that could have gone better.
You allowed the opponent to force eventual checkmate.
Well, that much I figured. Okay, back to what I was actually doing. Let's head over to the terminal and paste our run command, and then we don't want Firefox, we want Kali, no, we want Parrot. Ah. Okay, let's see if this gives us A, the Parrot security installation we want, and B, whether we can persist any information on it. Okay, switching back to the browser. Okay, this is Parrot. Let's see what... Hey, it is the pen testing version. Oh, that pleases me. It's gonna make things... Problem is we don't have an out file here. We should have one, because that was the command we gave. But I guess we didn't actually make that directory. I wonder if we can make that directory now. Ah, also the user seems to be different. Let's see if it did make the directory. It did. It just put it in the wrong place. So let's check we can persist a file here. And let's put some data in it. Okay, now that should be persisting. Let's switch back to the terminal and kill it. And then something. Let's... Okay, so that works. We don't need to worry about the platform for data uploads if we just add this mount. Of course, I am going to edit it so that it's in the actual user folder instead of making a random one, but this allows us to get around that requirement. So it means we can have a persistent file which we boot these into, and we can probably switch that between them. So I think I'm actually going to leave it there because I covered everything I want to. I would say this tool, this Kasm system, is actually very cool, but you don't need the Workspaces platform. You can execute them manually, as they say, and you can add persistent storage to them. So I think I'm actually going to take this into use as my main way of running Parrot, because this was super simple compared to installing and spinning up a VM. So good work, Kasm. This pleases me. And with that, I think I'm done for the day. Have yourselves a good afternoon, everyone.